Hello and welcome to this Micro Focus Service Desk video discussing the installation of Micro Focus Service Desk and a demonstration on migrating Micro Focus Service Desk from version 7.3 to version 7.4. Micro Focus Service Desk install, upgrade, and migration. This slide is separated into two different parts. For instance, an upgrade would be from one version to the next, where Micro Focus Service Desk is configured on an OS. A migration would be if you're using the Appliance version and moving to the most recent version. Consult your documentation for different system requirements, configurations, and processes. For instance, if you are migrating from version 7.2, the file structure changed going from version 7.2 to later versions. Some of the system and database requirements would be the platforms Windows, Linux, and Appliance, and you have various databases, MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server. During the install, you'd have to understand those basic system database requirements. You'd also understand and agree to the EULAs, set up your languages, and your network and DNS setup. Some external system communications that are needed is 1, email, 2, LDAP to some directory if you so choose, and XenWorks if applicable. You'd also apply the license and configure Micro Focus Service Desk Teams, workflows, certificates, and any customizations you'd want to have on your system. Now, if you have an existing Micro Focus Service Desk version 7.4, you'd be doing an upgrade or migration. Make sure that you back up the system, the database, certificates, and any customizations you have, and we'll cover those in detail on the next slide. Same system and database requirements in EULA and languages. One thing to note is upgrading from previous versions, you can only upgrade from the past 2 versions. So for instance, the latest version is 7.4. You can only upgrade directly to 7.4 when you're coming from version 7.3 or 7.2. If you happen to have 7.0 or 7.1, you'd then want to increment up 2 versions and then to the latest. So for instance, version 7.0, you would upgrade to version 7.2, and then you'd upgrade again to version 7.4. Other things that occur is upgrading the database schema. If it's migrated, you want to make sure your external system communications are verified. Email, LDAP, XenWorks if applicable. And then you'll decommission the older device if you're doing a migration. You'd apply the license and certificates and any customizations and any network and DNS reconfigurations if you migrated the appliance. Remember, migration applies to the appliance. Upgrade applies to Micro Focus Service Desk on the OS. Micro Focus Service Desk prep specifics. You want to make sure you back up the database, back up the server, back up or note any changes to the following before the upgrade. Any customization banners, you want to save those ahead of time. Customize CSS files, any Tomcat server changes in the web XML or server XML files, Java changes on the Catalina.sh, and then any SSL certificates and keys. Note, the files above will be overwritten during the upgrade. See the Service Desk installation guide and documentation for location of these files. Next, we want to cover the log locations. So there's a debug TID out there, 7017045, and that has all the details on restart commands and all the logs. And they're listed here for your convenience. They may be different depending on which platform you have and which appliance you have. Micro Focus Service Desk resources. Some of the resources you have at hand are the documentation site, the Service Desk public forums, Service Desk YouTube channel, Micro Focus Ideas portal, Micro Focus Service Desk version 7 cookbook, TID 7021281. Be sure to check on these resources, for the YouTube channel has ways of configuring the workflows and teams and other step-by-step processes for LDAP and those types of things. the ideas portal is a great resource to be able to give your comments and your enhancements. And this is highly looked at the development team and can be voted on so that it takes a higher priority if it's recognized by a lot of customers. The cookbook will have a lot of links and videos connected to it, so if you're looking to go through a migration, upgrade, or install process, you can go to this one document which will have links to all the other documentation that might pertain to that process. Demonstration. For this Micro Focus Service Desk demonstration, we're going to do a migration demo. We're going to have a version 7.3. We're going to show the configuration of the service desk, which has a .73 IP address. We're going to power up the appliance for the version 7.4 and configure it with all the EULA and languages and networking, giving it a .74 IP address. Then on the version 7.4 appliance, we'll import the version 7.3 database and content, because in our appliance we have the embedded database. So we'll do both, not just the content but also the database. And then we'll upgrade the database schema. Then we'll decommission the version 7.3, modify the version 7.4 network settings to 7.3, and verify success. We'll presume the database and server have been backed up and all the customized files are noted or copied for safekeeping. Let's go through that demonstration. So before we migrate, let's take a look at our current version 7.3 service desk. We'll go ahead and sign in. See that we have users and customers in here. We have a setup and LDAP is connected. We also have ZenWorks connected. So let's go ahead and log out. This is our appliance for version 7.3. Let's go ahead and bring in the 7.4 OVA. Okay, that's downloaded. Let's go ahead and start it up. We'll go through a normal install of the 7.4 for the OS, and then when we do the migration, the identity of the version 7.3 will come over to the version 7.4. Agree to the service desk license agreement and then the OS license agreement, and we'll pick our language and then our keyboard, put in a host name, put in a domain name, and we'll change some network configurations. Again, these will be changed after we migrate everything to the new version 7.4. And we can change our network settings back, so any links that customers or users or technicians may have will flow through. Add our IP address in here, host name. Then we want to put in some name servers. And we'll go ahead and put in our routing. Let it chew on that. We'll confirm the clock and time now. And it'll go ahead and start the install of the OS and bring up the appliance itself. Then we'll run through the appliance migration. Okay, we're there. Now we're going to create a new root password for this 7.4 appliance. We're going to go to Micro Focus Service Desk, and we're going to do a migrate upgrade. So we're going to do an actual number 2. We're going to import the embedded database and the external content from the other appliance. The IP address of the other appliance. It's a version 7.3. One note here on selection number 2, version 7.2 or earlier, you can only go back 2 revs. So for version 7.4, you can only upgrade from version 7.3 or 7.2. So the mention here or earlier is actually a menu defect, and this will be corrected in the next version. And put in the root password of the version 7.3 appliance, and it'll start migration. It'll reach out to the other device, and now it's confirming that we want to go ahead and do the migration. We'll select yes, and it'll go through a series of steps to migrate the data. So now let's go out to we'll hit advanced. Hit test. Successfully connected. We'll do an upgrade. It's going to be on this device, so we'll go ahead and select upgrade. Now it's going to upgrade the schema and some of the database components. Successfully upgraded. And here on the 7.4 we have our users and customers, our setup, LDAP, ZenWorks. Everything came over. Next we'll go ahead and go to the version 7.3 and bring down this appliance. Go to 7.4, and we're going to select appliance, enter the root password, and configure network settings. It's going to open up the network settings in YAST. We'll select the NIC. Go ahead and make our changes to 73. Put in the host name of the original 7.3 server. And then go over to our host names, modify those. Put in a domain name. Then we'll double check our routing, that looks good. Save. Then we're going to restart the appliance. All the network settings can go into effect. Go ahead and open a browser. So now we have our version 7.4 with the same IP address and configuration. Everything's migrated over just fine. At this point, go ahead and install your version 7.4 license that you can find in your portal, and restore any customized settings like banners, CSS files, or Tomcat server changes, Java changes, or SSL certificates and keys. Those will need to be restored at this point. This concludes this Micro Focus Service Desk video presentation on discussing the installation of Micro Focus Service Desk version 7.4, or migrating and upgrading discussions on the Micro Focus Service Desk 7.4 from a 7.3 appliance.